I mean, I'm a coach here, and I'm just not gonna, I can't do much. Whatever I say, I'm gonna get either hate, either someone is gonna agree on me, but I'm not the most important.
Ladies and gentlemen, this runs so much deeper than a simple game of tennis. We are looking at a saga of vengeance, disrespect, and ancient rivalries exploding on the world stage. Don't touch that dial, because this tale has every single ingredient of a blockbuster drama. Okay, before we unpack Vukov's explosive comments, we have to turn back time and really grasp the bad blood boiling between these two. To say Stefano Vukov and Aryna Sabalenka have a complicated history would be the understatement of the century. Let's call a spade, they absolutely despise one another, a feud that traces its roots all the way back to the scorching heat of the Madrid Open. During that tournament, Sabalenka was in the trenches against Rybakina when she spotted Vukov barking orders from the sidelines between points. Now, sure, a little coaching is technical legal during specific pauses, but Sabalenka wasn't about to let it slide. She was riding high on a lead and felt emboldened enough to turn around and let Vukov have it, and believe me, she didn't mince her words. Sabalenka made it abundantly clear that she had zero tolerance for his antics, his coaching style, or his mere existence near her court. It was a fiery, face-to-face clash, but the drama didn't stop when the umpire called time. Rumor has it, Sabalenka actually tried to get Vukov ejected from the stadium. She wanted him gone, plain and simple, but Vukov stood his ground. He refused to retreat. He offered no apologies, and crucially, he filed that memory away for later. Since that fateful day, the air has been thick with tension every single time Rybakina and Sabalenka crossed paths, while Vukov went completely dark. He ignored the insults, refused to get dragged into a public war of words, and simply waited in the shadows, letting his protege's racket do the talking. Jump ahead to the Australian Open final, and suddenly, destiny comes knocking to settle the score. It is Elena Rybakina versus Aryna Sabalenka, a showdown for the ultimate prize. With the pressure at its absolute peak, Vukov knew the time was now, and Rybakina stormed out of the gates like a woman possessed. She seized control of that opening set with an iron fist, refusing to give Sabalenka even a second to breathe or find her groove. Rybakina's serve was thunderous, launching absolute missiles across the net that left the crowd gasping. Her shots were laser-focused, painting the lines and pinning Sabalenka deep into defensive territory way behind the baseline. And her footwork? Sharp, aggressive, and relentless. Rybakina snatched that first set, proving she wasn't just there to play, she was there to conquer. The second set saw Sabalenka summon her inner warrior, fighting tooth and nail to level the playing field. But folks, it is the third set where legends are made, and where this specific match etched itself into history. This is also where the narrative takes a twist regarding Sabalenka's attitude, as she sprinted to a massive 3-love lead in the decider. 3-0. She had the momentum, the swagger, and looked like she had cracked the code to Rybakina's game. 99% of players would have folded under that suffocating weight, particularly in a Grand Slam finale. But Elena Rybakina is not most players, and she certainly isn't quitting with Stefan Vukov in her corner. This is the moment Rybakina proved her mettle. She didn't panic, she didn't reinvent the wheel, and she didn't lose her cool. She simply dialed in, elevating her execution and cranking up the intensity exactly when the match was on a knife's edge. 1 point at a time, 1 game at a time, she began to climb the mountain and claw her way back into contention. It was a masterclass in mental toughness, tactical brilliance, and raw power, all converging when it mattered most. She shattered Sabalenka's serve, held her own under crushing pressure, and completely flipped the script. When Rybakina sealed the deal at 6-4, there was zero debate about who was the queen of the court that day. The comeback was legendary, the trophy was hers, and Stefan Vukov? He finally got his sweet revenge. But here is where the plot thickens even further, my friends. Stefan Vukov finally broke his silence regarding the rivalry, his thoughts on Sabalenka, and the entire drama since Madrid, addressing the controversy head-on. His message was effectively, look, hate me if you want, that's your prerogative. I am fully aware Aryna Sabalenka isn't my biggest fan, but I have a job to execute, and I am executing it well, and frankly, you can't argue with results. His sole mission is to engineer victories for Elena Rybakina, and he is delivering on that promise on the world's biggest stage. He admitted, I am a coach, and there is only so much I can control from the box. No matter what I say, half the world will hate it and half will agree, but at the end of the day, I am not the main character here. Yet Vukov refused to let the matter rest, emphasizing that snagging the title at Melbourne Park meant far more than just silverware. This was deeply personal business. It served as the ultimate clapback to the shade Sabalenka had thrown his way. Ever since their heated clash in Madrid, he has maintained a strict radio silence toward her. Not a peep. However, with Rybakina now hoisting the grand prize, he is finally breaking that silence to expose the gritty reality of their feud. Vukov alleges that it was actually Sabalenka who poured gasoline on the fire way back when. She was the architect behind the push to get him kicked out, the one dishing out the insults and bad energy. Fast forward to today, and he has guided Rybakina to dismantle that very rival on the sport's grandest platform. It is the definition of poetic justice. You might assume that following such a breathtaking turnaround, Sabalenka would show some sportsmanship and tip her cap to the victor, wouldn't you? Think again. Rather than hailing Rybakina's stellar play, Sabalenka fell back on what Vukov describes as her typical worn-out routine. We saw the waterworks, the justifications, and the dodging. Listen, I understand falling short in a major final is agonizing. Blowing a 3-game lead in the decider is absolutely crushing. However, there is a method to losing with class and self-respect. The core issue with her reaction, as Vukov highlights, lies in her obsession with crying over her own spilled milk. She is mourning her own errors, fixating on the shots she flubbed and the chances she let slip through her fingers. Yet, she absolutely won't offer sincere praise to the opponent who stared her down and outclassed her in the clutch moments. As she put it, she had her shots and feels she whiffed on a few, but hey, that is just the nature of the game. One day you take the loss, the next you take the win. Her hope is simply to stack up more victories than defeats this year. After strutting with such arrogance all tournament long, Sabalenka now seems incapable of giving Rybakina her rightful props after the loss. That specific attitude is exactly what is driving Vukov up the wall. Frankly, who can fault the guy? Because we need to address the cold, hard reality here. Rybakina did not just stand there waiting for a meltdown. She took charge and forced the issue herself. It was a perfect storm of strength, accuracy, psychological toughness, and strategic brilliance right when the stakes were highest. She carried out her strategy flawlessly, tweaking her approach exactly when the situation demanded it. Keeping her cool while trailing 3-love, she stepped up to seize the crown. That isn't fortune, and it certainly isn't a choke job. That is world-class mastery from a true victor, and Coach Vukov has been brutally honest about where they stand. No matter what trash Sabalenka talks about his squad, they will remain relentless until the trophy is theirs. They proved that precisely in this showdown. So, folks, this wasn't merely two titans fighting for a title down under. It was a saga of vindication, demanding respect, and burying old hatchets once and for all. Vukov bided his time, and when the window opened, he and Rybakina struck with stunning impact. What is your take on this heated rivalry? Did Vukov have the right to put her on blast? Could Sabalenka have shown a bit more class in her loss? Sound off in the comments section. If you loved this breakdown, crush that like button and subscribe for your daily dose of tennis chaos. Catch you on the next one. Keep smashing those winners.